Welcome to our video on Article 15 of the Indian Constitution. This fundamental right is one of the most important in the Constitution, as it guarantees the rights of all citizens to equality and prohibition of discrimination on the grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth. In this video, we will look at each clause of Article 15 in detail, understand the meaning, and then summarize it. We will also briefly touch upon a few important case laws. Let's dive into the article right now. Article 15 Clause 1 says, "The state shall not discriminate against any citizen on grounds only of religion, race, caste, sex, place of birth, or any of them." This means that the state cannot treat any citizen differently on the above basis or on the combination of any of these factors. Article 15 Clause 2 says, "No citizen shall be subject to discrimination on the grounds that we just looked at with regard to access to shops, public restaurants, hotels, and places of public entertainment, or the use of wells, tanks, bathing ghats, roads, and places of public resort maintained wholly or partly out of state funds or dedicated to the use of general public." This clause prohibits discrimination by both state as well as private entities. We have this provision specifically because of our history. You might have heard stories in the past. People from lower caste were not even allowed to drink water from the wells used by higher caste people. Britishers discriminated against Indians by placing boards like "Indians and dogs not allowed" at restaurants and hotels. Now you know why mentioning something as basic as Article 15 Clause 2 was important. Now moving to the next clause, Article 15 Clause 3. It reads as, "Nothing in this article shall prevent the state from making any special provision for women and children." This is self-explanatory. It means that any special provision for women and children will not be considered discrimination. Clause 4 was added by the First Amendment to the Constitution in 1951. Clause 4 and 5 empower the government to make special provisions for the advancement of any socially and educationally backward classes of citizens, or for the scheduled caste or the scheduled tribes regarding their admission to educational institutions. This includes private educational institutions, whether aided or unaided by the state. Last but not the least, the new provision that gives the government power to make special provisions for the advancement of economically weaker sections of citizens. This amendment was brought in 2019. This is how Article 15 looks in a nutshell. We saw how the discrimination is prohibited, but the government can make special provisions for certain sections of citizens. But what does this article mean in practice? How has the Indian judiciary interpreted and applied this principle in the past? One of the most significant cases in this regard is the famous case of Champakam Dorai Rajan versus State of Madras. This case dealt with the issue of reservation of seats in educational institutions for socially and educationally backward classes. The Supreme Court held that while reservation is a valid measure to address past discrimination, it must not exceed a certain limit and should not affect the rights of other citizens. Another important example is the case of Bhim Singh versus State of Jammu and Kashmir, where the court held that the state cannot discriminate against a person on the grounds of their political beliefs. This case reinforced the principle that Article 15 applies not just to discrimination on the grounds of caste, religion, and sex, but also to discrimination on the grounds of political beliefs and other grounds. And the recent case of Navtej Singh Johar and others versus Union of India 2018 is also another landmark case involving Article 15. This case dealt with the issue of decriminalization of homosexuality. The court held that Section 377 of Indian Penal Code, which criminalized same-sex consensual relationships, was unconstitutional and violative of Article 15 of the Indian Constitution. But it's not just the judiciary that has been instrumental in upholding the values of Article 15. Our history is filled with examples of individuals and movements that have fought against discrimination and upheld the principles of equality and justice. From the anti-caste movement led by Dr. Bhim Rao Ambedkar to the feminist movement led by people like Kamala Bhaisin and Ruth Manorma, to the LGBTQ rights movement led by people like Ashok Rao Kavi and Lakshminarayan Tripathi, the struggle for equality and justice has been a constant theme in our history. In summary, Article 15 of the Indian Constitution prohibits discrimination on grounds of religion, race, caste, sex, or place of birth, or any of them. It also empowers the state to make special provisions for the advancement of socially and educationally backward classes of citizens. But such provisions should not discriminate against other citizens and should not affect their rights. If you like this video, please share it with your friends. You can follow us on Instagram as well for more such content. Thank you.